Steve Edelman.
I'm Sharon Anderson. Coming up today on Good Company, we'll see the personal side of Eyewitness News reporter and anchor Marcia Fleur as we go to her home and meet her family.
Also, our field host Gary Lumpkin is going to give us a look at Gopher football, both on the field and behind the scenes.
And we'll meet the man who has been turning out hit country and pop tunes since 1946, Eddie Arnold.
All that's just ahead on Good Company.
From the Twin Cities, it's Good Company. With your hosts, Steve Edelman and Sharon Anderson. With roving reporter Gary Lumpkin and the Good Company Company.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, everyone. I got a little test for you at the beginning.
Test?
A little test. And I'm going to stand up here, so you have to kind of pull out for me. Now, take a look. See this?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture?
I haven't a clue. Why?
Look at these sleeves.
Oh, a little long. Did your arm shrink? What happened overnight?
Well, I went and bought a new shirt. Yeah, that's what happened. I woke up in the morning and all of a sudden my hands disappeared. It was a very bad night.
You're taking off weight in the wrong places.
I don't know. You know, when you buy new shirts, you got to specify how long the sleeves should be, and I think I forgot here.
Uh-oh.
Terrible?
Terrible.
Oh, well.
Well, it'll keep your hands warm if it turns cold.
Great idea. So we have a real treat for you this afternoon. We have with us Marcia Fleur from Eyewitness News, and as you probably know, Marcia has been with KSTP-TV for guess how long?
Well, over 10 years. I remember celebrating her 10th anniversary here.
10 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, she's anchoring the news. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her life with her husband, Phil Ross. Phil is also here. He is a singer and an actor, and we decided backstage that he is therefore an acting singer, because he's more a singer than an actor. We'll learn about that. Currently, he's appearing at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater in the Fantastics. Would you welcome, please, Marcia Fleur and Phil Ross.
You don't get that applause at night when you're doing the news.
No, you don't. You see the camera and you don't know who's out there until you go out on the streets and people say, hi. You know, they know us. It's wonderful. They welcome us into our homes just the way they do you. You know what it's like.
It is, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I was so surprised to learn, as we were talking this morning, that the first time you ever came to KSTP-TV was to perform together.
Right.
That's right. We were an act in show business. It was a very brief career, about 2.5 years. And we played Minneapolis, the Twin Cities.
You were singing together.
That's right. We were singing with another couple. And we were back and forth, and we were great favorites on all the local talk shows and stuff. And when the circus broke down and we stopped being on the road, we had been treated so well at KSTP. It seemed so professional. We'd done a number of the noon shows that when I was looking for a job in television, it was the first place I called. And I was lucky.
And you were hired.
Yes, that's correct. I was. And then the rest is history. It is not true that I was put into this building with the cornerstone. I mean, I did have there was life for me before KSTP. But it's an exciting way of backing into a new career.
And you two have been married for how long?
Oh, about 15 years.
Long time.
Give or take a few years.
Give or take a few.
Well, how did you meet in the first place?
We met doing the leads opposite one another in South Pacific, the old musical. She was Nellie and I was Emile, and that's how we met.
You were washing that man right out of your hair. It didn't work.
It didn't work. It didn't work at all. We ended up.
Got stuck.
Yeah, we started friends and ended up married, and we're still friends. Isn't that lucky?
So it wasn't love at first sight. You grew into this relationship.
That took a while.
Yeah, we were friends.
Several years, actually.
Actually, the first time I met Philip was in an audition, and he, as you can hear from his speaking voice, he has a very large baritone singing voice. We were standing next to each other sharing a book, and he sang in my ear, and my first impression was, I don't think I can do this. I'll be totally deaf by this, because this big sound, I wasn't used to that, because I was just, real amateur type singer. But it worked out. I learned to listen, and I used to plug this ear so he could sing to me.
But if you were singing together on the road, you probably came a long way from being an amateur-type singer.
Oh, I was a tremendous business manager and a real good MC and a female baritone. And I held up my end, I looked pretty good, and I did things like incorporate us.
So you were the MC.
I was the MC. And
Took care of all our money and made sure we didn't
starve to death.
someplace in
It all worked out.
Iowa or something.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of singing, we have a videotape clip of the two of you singing together currently. But at the beginning of that, let's take a look at that clip now. We're going to see how the home that the two of you live in now, is this new or have you been in this home for a while?
Oh, we've been in here for 10 years.
10 years. And you just added on to it, I
Now,
guess.
folks, that looks like a farmhouse, but don't be fooled. It's 10 minutes from the IGS Tower. And it is an old farmhouse. It was built between 1910 and 1913, and there's a big addition on the side of the house, which serves as living room, family room. And here's my secret, folks. I don't have children. I have adults. You're seeing my sons, Chris and Todd. That's Todd. He's 20 years old, just returned from California. He was working on oil rigs out there. As a matter of fact, he had his own rig and came back and decided to rejoin the real world and make real money, like, you know, minimum wage. This is Chris. He just graduated from the University of Michigan in June as a voice major, very musical, and he'll be working for Campus Crusade for Christ out in California. This is my passion. You throw all kinds of seeds in the ground and you see what comes up. It's not very orderly, but I like gardening because it adds order to it. My job is a disorderly job. You never know what's going to happen. With a garden, you plant something and you have it come up and it sort of reaffirms. Now, this is our front yard garden. We used to have a backyard garden, but they built a house over it. And we lost a couple of elm trees, and this is Phil's garden. He takes care of the vegetables. He is now playing with the tomato plants and the cucumbers. And so we dug up a hole in the front yard, and it's a little eccentric.
Looks pretty good.
And one of the things you do, of course, when you have a gardener in the family is you have to can all that junk.
Sure.
And that's your job?
That's my job. This is the first step. One gets the skins off the tomatoes. That's the first thing you learn about canning is that you have to... Now, this is a little bit of the inside of the house. This is the dining room. And everything there means something. The furniture Phil and I bought for $40.
Where?
At a garage sale in Toledo. We're from Toledo, Ohio. This is Phil as Buffalo Bill out at Chanhassen. He did the role, and this was one of the set decorations. I think that's wonderful, don't you?
Yeah.
And our living room, this is the addition. It's
Ooh,
about
that's nice.
25 by 30, and it's all cedar wood. Very comfortable, very family. We don't have another family room, that's it. That's a picture of Phil's aunt and mother. And this is our family portrait, folks. We don't do this a lot, but it sure was fun to do it for good company.
So much for tradition, huh?
After that, he pulled the piano thing down over the keys and crushed Chris's fingers, so he'll never play again.
We're going to have to
Oh,
break
nice.
away for just a second. We're going to be back with Phil and Marcia. We're going to take questions from our studio audience. Stay with us.
That
friendly nurse is sure courageous, 'cause breath like yours could be contagious.
Brush your breath, brush your breath.
We're back again. Our guests, Marcia Fleur from Eyewitness News, Phil Ross, actor, singer, and also married to Marcia Fleur. By the way, how about that issue, married to Marcia Fleur? You know, she's on television. Is that an issue at all?
Not yet.
Could we make it into one, do you
Oh,
think?
well, whatever you want. No, it's never bothered me. I don't know whether it bothers her or not.
Did you get
I tell you, it bothers our mailman, because he has to deliver mail to Marcia Fleur and Phil Ross, and then our boys use our legal name, and he gets very confused.
He thinks we live in a hippie commune.
You know, that really does confuse a lot of people. People ask Sharon and I why we have different last names. What's your explanation for that?
Well, my last name is not exactly a real good showbiz name. It starts with a Z, and that doesn't make it usually. I'm not telling anybody who's got a name that starts with a Z it's not a good name, but mine just isn't a nice, well, it's not a showbiz name anyway. And the same way with her.
Well, now you know everybody wants to know what your last name is. now that
Zaugg.
you said it.
Zaugg.
It's ugly.
Now you see
I
something?
auditioned. No, Fleur was my name, and when I auditioned here, I auditioned and I did 2 stand-up closes for the news director that I was auditioning for, and one was Zaugg and one was Fleur, and I said, I suppose you noticed that I used 2 names, and he says, yes, and Zaugg's got to go. I mean, so that was it. I stuck with Fleur, and he's always called me Marcia Fleur anyway.
I did a show with Dorothy Lamour, and Dorothy Lamour told me that I was fine singing and acting, but I should never, ever use that name. I would not make it if I didn't change it.
So naturally, he chose something, because he looks so German and the name Zaugg is German, he chose something Scottish, Ross. That's all right. At least it's not Mick Ross. That would confuse people.
Right.
We have a little tape that we wanted to show you about Marcia's career at KSTP, and why don't we take a look at that right now? Where is this one going to start? I think it starts with you before your career at KSTP.
That's right.
All
Starts
the way
long
backwards.
before my career.
Yeah.
Starts when I was a baby, with her mouth open. I was destined at the time. My parents were wonderful people. They said, you know, you can be anything and do anything you want. This is growing up with all the black curly hair. Don't get confused, folks. I became a blonde for South Pacific when I met Philip, and it sort of stuck. There was a blonde inside me trying to get out, and I always knew that. This is in Toledo, Ohio. By the way, this is me, glamour. Yeah, I was a school teacher before I went on the road in show business. This is what you call a reformed school teacher. This was our group, and this picture was taken by a gentleman named Seymour in Chicago, who said,
Maurice Seymour.
don't bother wearing makeup, I'll do it all. And here's the working girl. This was taken last winter at the Capitol, sitting on the floor, stretching out with a microphone, trying to get the news. This is the Mondale campaign in 1976. The fellow on the right in the picture is Bill Plant. He's the CBS correspondent at the White House. It gets real boring on campaigns, folks. 55 cities in 19
The farmers say that each day they keep this surveying truck tied up, they've won a victory. The company figures it another way. United Power says each day's delay just costs more money, and eventually these same farmers are going to have to pay the price. This is Marcia Fleur, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Meeker County.
Eyewitness News, the Northwest's most complete, comprehensive, and up-to-the-minute coverage, with meteorologist Dave Dahl, sportscaster Larry Burnett, and newscaster Marcia Fleur.
Good evening. 3-year-old Gilletta McCrary of Maplewood is with her mother tonight. The little girl had been missing for 5 days and was finally picked up by police last night in Iowa. With her was the 19-year-old woman accused of abducting her. This afternoon, Gilletta flew back to the Twin Cities with a Maplewood police detective, and our reporter Dave Andrews was with them. And this is the last publicity picture. That spans quite a bit of career in there. And I was, of course, political correspondent for a long time, and now as anchor, doing something quite different. Had to give up the political beat because nobody works 7 days a week. And I miss it a little, but I like anchoring. It's a different career move. I feel as though you've seen all of it.
Is that something you've always wanted to do, Marcia, as anchor?
Oh,
Ultimately?
it's a next logical step. I think if you have, I could stay a reporter. I like the street. I like working with people. I like working with the cameramen and the editors in the newsroom. I still get to do that. I have a little more responsibility, I think, as an anchor. And on the weekends, it's just a marvelous, tight-knit group of people who makes sure the news gets on the air at 6 and 10 or 5:30 and 10, and it's a different kind of excitement. I find it very exciting.
We have here in the audience the other two people in the family that we saw on the tape. This is Chris and Todd Zaugg, who are Marcia's children. How is it, children? Yeah, really, children. You are what ages again?
I'm 22. And I'm 20.
Not exactly children. What is it like growing up with a mother who's a celebrity? Is that an advantage, you think? You get some particular special treatment because of that?
Well, I think sometimes, you know, when you go out with her, you have to shave and wear nice clothes. You know, because some people say that's, you know, is that Marcia Fleur's bum or what is it? But it was interesting. I guess I mostly look at it as I kind of see her just at home, you know, being the masochistic Twins fan that she is, listens to every game on TV, and I look at it more that way rather than a celebrity in the house.
Yeah. Tell me something about Marcia Fleur that people don't know, Todd.
She is an ecstatic Vikings fan. And if they don't win, she wants to throw things at the TV set. She is an incredible sports fan, and a lot of people might find that hard to believe, but she really enjoys most every sport on TV, so Chris and I have no problem convincing her, you know, to watch the TV on the sports programs or anything else like that.
Did you ever feel you were in competition with a career?
Never. Never. Todd and I both were doing tons of things when we were in high school, when I was in college. We were going all different ways, you know. We never really saw her, and she, you know, was just kind of coming and going in the night, and never really. We were our own people.
Yeah.
Kind of nutty. Whole family.
Sounds like you've had a good time growing up together.
It's been exceptional.
Yeah.
We have a very close family. It's a very different family than most people are used to, I would suppose, with my father being an actor and a singer, and a very good one, I might add, and Mom being a news reporter or an anchor now. But it's a pretty interesting life, and I've really enjoyed it. And it's a fantastic family.
Yeah,
except for Chris. He really is. You watch it. You watch it, boy.
Marcia, what have you learned more from, being a mother or being a news reporter?
I don't think you can separate the two. When I got into this business, the boys just 10 years ago, so you know how old they were. They were young. And I was learning the business at the same time I was learning being a mother and learning to be a working mother, learning to be, to have a career that was all-absorbing. I'm talking now about 60 and 70-hour weeks. I'm not talking about all-absorbing where you're, I mean, it's time-consuming, and everybody had to work together, and I think I'm a different kind of mother, and Phil's a different kind of father. He was house husband for 3 or 4 years there, where there wasn't a lot of acting being done, and he needed to be home. So he did, who's ever there does it.
It's so nice of both of you to come on and talk with us. You know, it's a pleasure to get to meet you in a kind of a personal way. And thank you both for joining us as well. Okay? Phil Ross, Marcia Fleur, a pleasure.